All right, hey, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast 142. After the season break, we come back on season 7 here, episode 1. Always ended after the NFL season, coming into March Madness, and it's kind of basketball season now for me anyway. There's other sports going, but basketball, March Madness, NBA, kind of the big things we're watching now. So we got Big Box Steve with Mike, Big Smooth, we got Fresh Wes. Gonna get into a lot of things today, but we'll talk about Hackman later. But Gene Hackman passed away, so you know, rest in peace. Great actor, a lot of years, 95 years old. So that's a great life, and he made it a long time. But always, sad to see some of that. We every time an actor passes, we want to pay respect to them, talk a little bit about their career, and we'll get into that later too.
Right.
But
Price of getting old. And we can start seeing all of our people that
I
we've
know
lost.
that's the rough part, right? Is that that just makes you feel how much older we're getting. I have an interesting trivia type question for you guys here. So in basketball season, so NBA players and talking about the longest streak without losing 3 games in a row. So they games played, right? Total games played that where they didn't lose 3 games in a row. And so that there's top five.
I don't know what years, but was it like the 2017 Warriors?
No, just the players themselves. So just
Oh,
this player had this many games in a row where they never lost 3 in a row.
there's only five? But
Well,
what
there's
am I?
more than five. This is the top five.
Oh, Jordan.
So Jordan is number one, 626 games without losing 3 in a row. It's a lot of games.
Yeah.
It's like 10 seasons almost.
Classic.
So Jordan's number one.
Would Curry be on there?
Curry's number two at 314. So he's half of Jordan.
Uh, Bill Russell.
Not Bill
No.
Russell. Most of them are a little more modern, I would say, but still kind of just, NBA, legends.
Bird.
Larry Bird, number five at 284. What do you think, Wes?
No clue.
Magic.
I don't deal with NBA trivia because they saw.
NBA. It's not Magic.
Pippen.
No,
Oh,
not Pippen. They played together. 3 and 4 played together.
Karl Malone and John Stockton. No. Are these really old or?
Not that old.
Oh, Kyrie and LeBron?
No. This is I mean when you know these ones. It should be easy.
Let me think here.
One's a big man, one's a guard.
Is it Lane Beer and Isaiah Thomas?
Little after them.
Oh, okay.
In Malone, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we talk about her head.
They won 3 championships.
Oh, Kobe and Shaq.
Kobe and Shaq at 306, Kobe and Shaq at 291. So Well, it's interesting though. I just thought it was a cool stat because that's a lot of games, especially Jordan. 626
Yeah.
games where his team didn't lose three games in a row in that streak.
Right. Well, there was one I saw, which also there's only three players that have ever had the scoring title and been on an all defensive team. And can you name those three players, Steve?
Jordan, Jordan, and Jordan.
Well, no, Jordan did it 9 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two did it twice, and number three did it once.
Won the scoring title and was on the all defensive team.
Yeah.
David Robinson.
No. One is what? The 2000s time, and one is 60s, 70s.
Oh, geez. Maybe like Moses Malone,
No. Think guards.
Oscar Robertson,
No.
60s, 70s. Maybe LeBron.
Nope.
No, not all defense.
I don't know if I mean, these they won the scoring title and all defensive team in the same year. So you got to think of scorers that can play defense.
Hmm. Boy, that's a tough one. Maybe like Elgin Baylor
Close.
or Bernard King.
No, because King's like the 80s.
He's afterwards.
Close to Elgin Baylor, though.
Oh, I don't know.
Teammates of Elgin Baylor.
All right, well, give us the answer.
Well, they both played for the Lakers. One is the logo,
Oh,
Jerry
Jerry
West.
West.
He was
Nice.
number three. And number two is Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
So Jordan did it 9 times, Kobe did it twice, and Jerry West did it once.
Wow, that's crazy. There's a lot of stats like that for Jordan, though, when you look at some of the things and you start making stat comparisons. And yeah, it's great. LeBron scored a million points, but when you look at championships and, defensive first team defense and scoring titles and, all those things, there's not much comparison that way.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to get into just a little bit of football first before we kind of move forward here. So you had mentioned, the Matthew Stafford thing earlier. So when you talk about NFL, there's not a lot happening in the NFL right now, but
Lots happening. Think
what's
about it.
that?
Oh, lots happening.
Scouting
Aaron Rodgers might go to
combine.
the Rams. No, there's a lot of rumors.
It's lion season.
Yeah.
So what are the big call outs for the NFL right now?
Well, where's Stafford going? Where's Rodgers going? Is Sam Darnold going to be with the Vikings or is he going to get traded? Because I've heard rumors that the Rams want either Rodgers or Darnold.
Yeah, I mean right here talking about, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, right? So what are the landing spots for those guys? That's a big one. Combine. So combine start today.
Yeah. The big guys did their 40s.
So I saw this guy talking about that he doesn't believe the 40 times are real. What do you guys think about that?
What?
It was
They're
it was
more,
Cam Hayward.
they're more real than the pro day 40 times. I'll tell you that much. I don't trust anything from the pro day.
Oh,
Did you guys watch any of the combine today?
no.
No.
Watch fuck combine, dude. You watch, there was a big debate about, Uh, there's, of course, Shador doesn't want to do combine. There's a lot of guys that don't want to do it because here's my tape. This is me. You know, like why are you taping me running around a cone? Think that Genty can run through people and around a cone. Like it's all understood. And those days are over.
Yeah.
The combine's over.
I think the combine is good for people that are fringe, right? So like Cam Ward and Shador Sanders have no reason to do it because they already know they're the top two quarterbacks, and if they do it and do bad, then it hurts them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
um, Same with like Abdul Carter doesn't need to do anything. Travis Hunter doesn't need to do anything.
Yeah. It's called game code.
Yeah.
You got a lot of tape on Travis Hunter, what he can do, what he can't do. So I think
Now it's Jalen Milroe and Jackson Darden stuff.
Yeah.
This is good for them.
Yeah, it is for Milrow especially because they're like you're super fast, but can you throw the football?
Yeah. What do you think about Milroe? Like, is he, where would you say he lands in the draft or to draft it at all? Like, what's Milroe's status?
Oh,
Well, he'll be a second rounder probably.
people project him second round. I agree with that. Because why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you take a chance on him? So what? He can't throw the football, but he can run the football enough that he can throw the football. Or second or a third round pick.
Yeah.
Let's say nobody picks up in the second. Like he's a great third round pick, but he's not a top 10 pick.
Well, that's the thing is, would Justin Fields be looked differently if he was a second or third round pick?
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Yeah.
Right. And Milroe does fit into more of today's style, of the game, being able to run the ball,
Yeah.
run the read option, get
But
outside
he's
the pocket.
fat. I just want to see what his 40 time is.
That would be interesting.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Like there's no way a quarterback's that fast.
What I don't get is, and this is where I'm like, they're comping like Shador Sanders as Kirk Cousins. And I'm like, the dude, maybe they're like, oh, well, he's just a pocket. I'm like, yeah, but he is athletic. Just because he chooses not to run the ball a bunch doesn't mean he can't. And calling him Kirk Cousins, it's like, dude, is he
No,
gonna
he's
have like a
not Kirk Cousins. That's ridiculous. He runs enough, and you saw him when he played Colorado. He can run like I think it was Kuiper said, yeah, if he had to run 10 yards, he can run 10 yards. But it's not like the dude's going to run for 30, 40 yards.
well, think
And-
about Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
Mahomes doesn't look like the most, great person, but then, oh my gosh, look at him just scramble around and not get touched.
Right. And Shador does move in the pocket really well, like and outside of the pocket. Like he'll get out of the pocket and then, throw the ball once he gets free of the
Yeah.
pocket.
But yeah,
You
I
saw that
laughed
a
when I
lot.
saw Kirk Cousins. And then what did I showed you? Someone was comping him to Kenny Pick.
Yeah, so that was an interesting meme post, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, I don't see, a Kirk Cousins comparison. I don't see a Kenny Pickett comparison. Uh, he's, in my opinion, much better for, the style of play that he's going to be doing in the NFL. What about, so I did want to talk about Stafford for a minute. We were talking a little bit about this. What is the best landing spot for Stafford? For not for the team, but for Stafford's benefit.
Not the Giants. I know that.
Not the Giants.
That's the
Well,
worst.
for just if we're talking just for Stafford's benefit, it'd be probably the Steelers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best situation. You got a better defense. I still think they need to pick, like, especially in the draft. There's a lot of running backs in the draft. Najee's not going to work. You pick him in a second receiver. Yeah, that's the best spot for him. But people have said the Dolphins too, because you have just but they're not contenders. They suck. No,
But wouldn't they be contenders with Stafford though?
I don't know. Maybe.
But didn't they sign Tua already though?
no.
The problem with Tua is I don't know that you can
Huh?
count on Tua long term.
No.
And then Mike McDaniel, I don't, man, he did a lot of things last year as a coach that was very questionable to me. You've got these great receivers and pretty good tight end, and you're running the ball all game. I don't know what the benefit of that is. Like, how are you helping your team there?
Right. It's almost like they shouldn't have got rid of Flores.
Yeah, that it almost looks like a pretty big mistake there
The,
because
the
Flores is
biggest
on the
mistake
way up
is
again.
Tua. To everyone think that Tua is that good. He's not. He throws a nice 15-yard ball, but in the NFL, when they defend that, you got to throw it farther, and he can't. He
Yeah,
doesn't have that good of arm,
he has
and
arm
he's not
strength,
fast. He's literally Shador Sanders, but smaller.
and he definitely doesn't have Shadur's arm strength.
Shador has a better arm,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I was kind of looking through here, just looking at free agents. Like, what they're talking about, who's the best available free agents.
What's the list? I gotta pull up the list. I
It
haven't
doesn't
seen
seem like there's a lot on here.
No, they're saying it's
Kirk
not a very
Cousins.
good free agency.
Kirk Cousins better not go to the Raiders. They'll be mad. That would suck.
They're going to trade the 6th overall pick for Stafford.
But
Dude,
Well, if you think Trey Smith already got franchised, T. Higgins is going to get franchised.
did you hear Brady took him up skiing? Like, what's up with that?
Well, that was
Mujin?
Jordan Schultz said that, and then I think it was Rappaport. Basically, he's like, "No, that didn't happen." And then he Schultz found Rappaport in like a in the hotel area in Indianapolis and was trying to fight him.
What?
Yeah,
For what?
because Rappaport's like, "No, that didn't happen."
I don't think I saw anything on that.
Really?
No, I gave up. Okay.
So yeah, here's the list here. But this is all teams. So there are a lot of unrestricted.
Yeah, it's right here. NBC Sports. Jordan Schultz verbally accosted Ian Rappaport at a Starbucks in Indianapolis.
How bizarre is that? Did you have anything else better? No, but here's the thing. Just to point out here is remember, they want to make the NFL into a soap opera. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. All the evidence points to that. It's like there's so many random things that happen. It's like, I don't really care. I just want to watch football. I want to watch a pass thrown to another dude. I don't care about your personal life. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe this whole thing is a soap opera.
Well, it's one of those things, and we've seen it for years, Wes. They use the Raiders as a
Punchy bag?
trading. Yeah, they use them. It's like Ben Johnson did. Ben Johnson used the Raiders to get more money out of the Bears. And then you get insiders to be like, oh, it's a done deal. It's happening. And then it was never happening. And it's just like this. I bet you there's nothing going on with Stafford to the Raiders.
Well, it would make sense though. Think about it.
But if they're
For the
trying to
right
leverage the
price.
Giants,
Oh,
they
the
would start
Giants.
talking about him going to the
Why
Raiders.
would
The
he
Giants are
ever
like,
go to the Giants? Like that's just a train wreck. Like go to the Steelers. Steelers are the best place for him to go. That's all there's shit. No.
so what are the Giants going to do at quarterback then?
there's a lot of quarterbacks later in the draft. I don't, I think it's not very smart for them to reach for Shadora. Listen, think he's that good. If you got Travis Hunter there, take Travis Hunter. You know,
Well, the
Hunter, do
problem
you think
is
Hunter's going to be a DB though?
he wants to
no,
play both.
but here's the thing. It's like he is going to be a DB, and then he'll play some offensive snaps, probably 8 to 10 times a game. Like I had people tell me today, "Oh yeah, he could play both ways." No, he can't. This is not college. This isn't high school. This is the NFL, and he's not very big either. He is gonna have he's gonna injured, but he could play DB and then play eight. Strategically he can play snaps and offense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, someone was talking about that today, and yeah, someone brought up, and this is a great point. In the NFL, if you're going to be the number 3 overall pick as a corner receiver, you're going to be a shutdown corner, right? Shutdown corners don't come off the field.
Correct.
They're not coming out on defensive plays. You want them in every single defensive play. So then, yeah, like you said, there's no way then he's going to be like, oh, I just played all these defensive snaps. Now I'm going to go to offense.
No, but isn't it amazing to you that everyone says he's a generational talent? I know who's a generational talent is Deion Sanders. He's not Deion Sanders. He's not. Now, can he do both sides of the ball? Of course he can. But he's not Deion Sanders. Nobody's Deion Sanders. You know.
I mean, that's the thing is like, I bet you Charles Woodson could have done both.
Of course it won. He won a national championship.
Kind of like Dion did.
With Elvis Gerback, with this freaking quarterback. Steve might have been a quarterback. Dude, Elvis Gerback's your quarterback, and you win a national championship for the first time in 50 years. That's how good Charles Woodson was. And then when he transitioned the pros, he was an all-pro. But he wasn't what he was at Michigan. Like, he was a stud at Michigan. You know? It's different. So, and he's like, it's weird looking at Woodson. Woodson was pretty well built. This guy ain't that well built. He might be quick, and I would put him as an off the ball corner because he probably has great ball skills. He could probably have 6-7. He could win you and help you get your defense really well. But him as a shutdown corner, that's a little bit too much.
Yeah, I don't think he's personally from watching him. I don't think he's as good of a corner as say, Sauce or
Absolutely not.
what's the
So why
Denver
would
guy?
you spend a top 3 pick on him?
Right. I don't know that I would.
Because he could do. If you're the Giants and you have nothing,
Yeah.
like they're not going to take Sure. Like if you're the Giants, why would you take Sure? They're not going to be good next year anyways. So
Well, why would you take
you're
someone
building
like,
for the future. Next year they'll be a better quarterback.
Why wouldn't you take someone like Mason Graham then?
Or yeah, exactly. You could draft a second or third round pick, or take take the kid from Syracuse.
McCord.
Kyle McCord.
Yeah, why not?
I actually like Kyle McCord. I think he's going to slip, and I think he's a good pick.
You know what the funniest thing ever would be is if the Raiders drafted Kyle McCord for Chip Kelly's offense.
Right.
That would be. You get Genty at 6, which I don't know about that, but still, I'll take Genty at 6 and Kyle McCord.
You need a running back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you didn't have a great one who wanted to come back and you just didn't want to pay him.
Yeah.
Market value. It wasn't even like an overpay. You just were like, nah, you're good. You can go to a team then be one of their best players.
Yeah, I don't letting Josh Jacobs go, that was kind of crazy.
And that's why Telesco got fired.
So that's it's so much with the draft, and who's going to land where in free agency, and then how does that affect trading draft picks? Do you think there'll be more trades in this draft than say the last couple, or are the people going to hold like they did?
Well, I don't think they're going to be like, um, you're not going to get the haul you did in other drafts. No one's going to be trading like two ones and a two and stuff for Cam Ward or Shador Sanders.
Man, but they did to get, Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young won the Heisman. And think about that. It was Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Um, so it's kind of like, those were Anthony Richardson. That was a better draft class than it is now.
Oh, by far, yeah. But the days I think are numbered though for big, get sending a lot for a top five pick because you just don't know what you're getting.
Right. But then again, people are desperate for a quarterback. That's this league.
Right. It's like we lost Wes.
You know,
Well, as we get closer to the draft, it gets more interesting, when you start to see where free agents start landing, um, situations where maybe you fill your quarterback need with just a guy who's only going to be there for a year or two. Some of these, older quarterbacks, the Staffords, the Sam Darnolds, all these guys, even though, Darnold looks like he might get, go somewhere and get a big contract.
right. Yeah. That's well, because he wants like 4 years and like
Yeah.
40 million a year. That's kind of like I feel like Tennessee, they should not draft a quarterback. And I'm not a fan of Will Levis, but I'd rather just roll with Will Levis and see if I could get Abdul Carter, or if you really think Travis Hunter is this generational talent, take him.
Yeah. Yeah, Travis Hunter, I'm still on the fence with. Like I said, I don't think he's a shut down corner in the league. I think he's a good corner. I think he'll be, Pro Bowl corner probably in his career, but I don't think he'll be what's out there right now, as far as some of the real top tier corners in the league. So we'll see what happens with him there. So the other one, there's another one I wanted to talk about here is so I sent over one with the different decades of players. So the 2020s, the latest one, they say, Ohani, Mahomes, Jokic, and Connor McDavid at hockey. So yeah, basketball, or basically baseball, football, basketball, hockey.
Right.
So I looked at that one and I was like, yeah, that makes sense, right? And I really kind of agree with that. 2010s, they have Mike Trout at baseball, Tom Brady at football, LeBron at basketball, Alex Ovechkin at NHL, which is kind of a hard one to argue as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, baseball better. Like, would Mike Trout fit into that?
Yeah. He was the guy. The 2000s is where I'm like, A-Rod really the 2000s? I don't think so.
That was a good question. So, I mean, the 2000s is all over the place, right? Because you got Alex Rodriguez at baseball, you got Peyton Manning at NFL, Dirk Nowitzki at basketball, and then Nicholas Lindstrom at hockey. I do agree with Nicholas Lindstrom.
Right.
He was really, really good, especially in that time frame.
But Dirk, you're taking him over Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant?
Kobe Bryant and Shaq.
Yeah.
Dirk didn't get as much credit as he deserved. So I do like to see something trying to give him credit. He played really well and, they won. Peyton Manning can't really take Tom Brady twice.
No. Yeah, I would have gone Albert Pujols or Miguel Cabrera before I'd go A-Rod in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pujols. What about football? Peyton Manning, best of the 2000 to 2010.
Yeah, I mean, because Brady, it was he was more like once he got a little like the second his first championships, it was a lot of defense, and he not I won't say game manager, but it wasn't as much on him. The later Super Bowls that he won and went to, he was putting up massive numbers.
Yeah. And Peyton was putting up really good numbers at that point as well.
Yeah.
The 90s, 1990 to 2000, that's just brutal. Yeah, Barry Bonds at baseball, Reggie White in the NFL, Michael Jordan in the NBA, and then Ray Bork in NHL.
Yeah.
Because there was a time there outside of Gretzky, Ray Bork was thought of as one of the better NHL players that ever
Well, that's
played.
why when you get to the 80s, that's the
Oh, here's a good question. Who's better, the 80s or the 90s? So the 80s, you got MLB, you got Ricky Henderson. NFL, you got Lawrence Taylor. Basketball, you got Magic Johnson, and then NHL, you got Wayne Gretzky.
I feel like it's a tie because Gretzky is better than Bork, right? Jordan's
Yeah,
better than Johnson. LT, I think, is better than Reggie White, and Bonds is better than Henderson.
yeah. So two to two.
Yeah.
But overall, though, like if you just got to rank the two, what I like about the 80s is, yeah, Jordan's better than Magic. Like just if you're just gonna say who's better those two, but the difference, especially in that era, like it's not a huge gap between
Right.
Jordan and Magic, right? And then there is a gap between Gretzky because I don't know that anybody compares to Gretzky on the NHL side. And Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, they're pretty comparable. Barry Bonds, obviously, I think probably is a little bit better there. So yeah, it's pretty close. And then 60s, 70s, now we're just talking about statistics and things we know because we didn't, watch a whole bunch of that. But
I would say though the 60s with Willie Mays, Johnny Unitas, Wilt Chamberlain, and Bobby Hull.
right,
That's a pretty good
that is a really
force.
good four. Although I think Johnny U's the one holding him back.
Yeah. I don't know back then though. He was the man.
Yeah. So that's a cool list. I thought they did a pretty good job though. As I looked at that, I was like, it's fairly accurate. There's a couple in there, maybe. Dirk is one. Peyton Manning could be argued. So overall, yeah, 2000s is probably the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't that analytics. That list was brought to you by analytics,
Right. Yeah.
not brought to you by eye test. That's what's
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Yeah, because NBA is for like the per percentage. MLB was war. Yeah.
Well, and you have to, if you're doing an eye test on that, you have to have watched a lot of sports for a long time,
Right.
like just to be able to say, I eye test these guys.
Right. But even just like who are you taking, Dirk Nowitzki or Tim Duncan?
Yeah, I'm taking
What
Duncan.
Kobe Bryant or Dirk Nowitzki, right?
Thank
Shaq
you.
or Dirk Nowitzki. It's like it's kind of a
Although, Dirk got it done though. I mean, they still won. He still had a great win percentage, great stats, beat LeBron,
yeah.
the super team.
That's not that hard nowadays to beat LeBron.
Well, I mean, talking LeBron for a second, like you add Luca to the Lakers, they're a contender now.
I don't think so.
I mean, I've watched a lot of them since Luca came over, and now that Luca's like getting into the flow, they're a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, I think once playoffs hit, it's going to be hard for them not to have Anthony Davis because
Right?
Luka plays no defense whatsoever.
Yeah, they're definitely lacking in the bigs, but the league's changed though, right?
You know,
You don't necessarily have to have great bigs, but it does help. So, but I still think it's a good move for the Lakers, to be honest with you. I think they were so hit and miss with Davis and LeBron,
right?
where Luca gives a little bit more stability, at the ball handling position.
I still think and I'm not really the biggest Luka fan, but I still think that was the dumbest trade
For which team?
by the Mavericks. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, we're old. I mean, if you're going to trade Luka, you get a ton of stuff for him. And so you get Anthony Davis, who that's cool. It's on his downward decline now.
yeah. And he's only played like a game or two for Dallas.
Yeah, he's made of glass.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. But I think it's like I said, I think it's good for the Lakers. I don't think they had a chance to win before. I think they are at least a competitor now. So speaking basketball, I just want to talk a little bit. I don't want to dig too far into March Madness because that's a whole different bunch of podcasts. But they are coming up to the conference tournaments, right? So I think they'll start either this weekend. They only have a couple regular season games left. So the question is with these conference tournaments, like how much does that compare to say the conference championship games in NCAA football? We just saw where teams lost their conference championship and got into better positions. How did basketball tournaments work the same way, or is the I was thinking about this, and my thought is that the momentum they gain from winning those conference championships is actually more effective for them in basketball than it is in football, right? Whether it's a conference, playing in your conference championship in football.
Well, I think yeah. The big thing is I don't think a for basketball, it doesn't hurt you to lose as much as it does as football. In basketball, okay, if you're the number one seed, you're going to get into the tournament unless you have like a 500 record, right? If you're like, I don't know, Auburn, you're still getting in,
Right.
even if you lose in the first round of the SEC tournament.
And you're still probably a number one seed.
Yeah. Where it's helpful is for the bubble teams, like teams that might not make it or are close and fringe, and then they go on a run. And that's really exciting. If the difference is like, yeah, teams like in football, if you lose and you're like, oh, maybe you're like Miami or something, you're out, or it it isn't a very good benefit
Right.
as it in basketball.
Yeah. And how many times have you seen like teams get on a run in the conference tournament, win it, and then, carry that momentum into the
Right.
NCAA, into March Madness and into the tournament, the big tournament. And that's why I like the conference tournaments for basketball for men's
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, I think it starts in 2 weeks.
They have a couple weeks left. Let's
Yeah,
see.
well, I think it starts like March 12th for some. I think that was SEC was March 12th.
Yeah, so last game's on the 9th, 10th for some teams. So yeah, so yeah, about 10 days to almost 2 weeks or so. So they're coming up on that. Um, but just looking at overall from a high level of the NCAA men's right now, looking at like the SEC, you've got what, five teams that are, I mean, I got to go back and look at it, but there's like five teams that are in the top 10 or right there.
Yeah, they've got one, two, three, four in the top six.
Four in the top six.
And then then Texas A&M at 12, Missouri 14, Kentucky 17. One, two, three. So they got 8 teams in the top 25.
Right. And so I guess that begs the question is like they're going to bring in how many teams into March Madness?
Well, yeah, I was looking. Um, they only have one team with a losing record out of 16.
That's crazy.
And then so LSU is 14 and 14 and South Carolina is 11 and 17. But other than that, Oklahoma's 17 and 11, then Texas 16 and 12, then some other 17-11s, and then 19-9, 19-9. Four teams are 19 and 9, and then you're in teams with 20 wins. And that's 6 teams. So they have 10 teams that are 19 wins or more.
Jeez. And then you compare that to like the ACC, who's always historically been a really strong conference. You got Duke right now. I mean, Clemson, Louisville, they're both good. They're ranked. But that's kind of it for the ACC. The Big 12 right now is better than the ACC,
Right.
one ranking wise. They've got Houston, Iowa State both in top 10, Texas Tech now up to 10. And then even like, I mean, the Big East, which has always been a good basketball conference.
Or they only got not as well last year they were. You had UConn, you had
Right.
Marquette, and you had
Villanova.
all up there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's good to see St. John's back there.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've always liked watching St. John's. And then, the Big Ten, you got five top 25 teams, so they're looking pretty good. UCLA, they're not ranked, but they're not an easy team. They're 20 and 8.
And I like to see the Big Ten teams are not the football teams. I guess you got Michigan in there, but all the others are like not the good football teams right now.
Not right now, no. But Maryland, they've always been a much better basketball team than football
Yeah,
team.
right. Well, even like Michigan State's been better basketball than football.
Right. And you never want to play Michigan State in the tournament.
No, not with Tom Izzo out there.
No, they've always been a tournament killer. So it'll be fun to watch that. But right now, from what I've seen, and I haven't been watching all year, but the last, month or so, I've really been kind of digging in. The SEC just looks so strong comparatively. And it's hard for me to think that one of these SEC teams doesn't win the tournament
Right.
because you're playing each other all the time, too.
Yeah, so it's like a Kentucky team that's 19 and 9 could be like 24 wins to some other conference.
Yeah, exactly. And so March Madness coming up. That's going to be super fun to watch. So we'll get into that. Let's see. Find the next. I mean, obviously you're rooting for Florida.
Yeah, it's been a
Have you been
while.
watching them much?
No, not much. I've been bad lately, but my son is finally getting into wanting to watch basketball, so I'm going to start watching some more basketball. He even saw previews for March Madness and goes, "That's my favorite sport." And I'm like, "Yes, we got someone who wants to watch sports."
But isn't he playing basketball?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
Or he was. It's over now.
Yeah. So I was watching Florida game, and they're really balanced. They play really good defense, really good offense, but they all of their players, contribute. And when you're going into March Madness, like that's what you need, right? It's hard to rely on a star or two, have those just two people that are carrying you through the tournament because they get tired, they have a bad game.
Yeah, yeah, I always like it when what was it? I know it's not the same, but the remember the old Arkansas teams where their backups were just as good as their starters and they'd
Right.
run 10 deep and then it would be like 90 minutes of hell.
Yeah,
That's what
because
I
they're yeah,
miss.
they're running all game.
I miss that. I wish they would do that more. Because I guarantee they're not, you could probably full court press a lot of these teams.
Well, if you've got the players, right? If you have a top to bottom athletic team, that's the cool thing about college basketball is you're going to have these teams coming in from some of the smaller conferences that have the ability to do that. I mean, nobody wants to go play like St. Mary's. Like they're a solid team.
Yeah.
And I've watched a little bit of some of these games where you have some, the the St. Louis's, the VCU's. I mean, because they're going to come in what, like 7, 8 seeds, maybe 10, 11 seeds,
Well, the 11 seeds are the kill squad seeds.
right? Because they do the play-in now. But you like Drake, for example. Drake's 26-3. Does that mean they can beat Auburn? No, but any team that has that kind of a season has a lot of confidence going into these tournaments.
Yeah, UC San Diego's 24-4. UC Irvine's 23-5.
It's interesting. Gonzaga is not ranked.
Yeah, it's
They're
been
still
a
22 and
while.
8. So yeah,
Grand Canyon 20-6.
Grand Canyon. Yeah, I mean, you never know, man. There's been a few of those teams lately that are getting closer into these Sweet 16, Elite Eight. What was the one? San Diego State.
Well, I mean, San Diego State's good though.
That's what I mean, though. But a couple years ago,
Right.
a few years back, they made their way up there to I think the Elite Eight or something. But that's always fun to watch.
Well, don't they have a good coach, I thought.
I was actually watching them play, um, and they play great defense. And I think when you go into the tournament, just like what you're saying, like you're full court pressing or you're putting a lot of pressure on the ball, teams, even those real good teams, they're not used to that, or they might, just don't have depth to handle it. They're relying like Auburn, like they live and die by Broom. So if you can do anything to stop him, you're making the other players beat you.
Yeah. That's the thing, yeah. Unless you got like even so, like a Dylan McDermott who could just take over games. Remember when he did that for Marquette, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or was he Creighton?
You're right. I think
Yeah.
he was Creighton, right?
Yeah, and how he took over games. And if you have someone, well, remember when Steph Curry at Davidson, right? No one heard of, and then all of a sudden he's like,
And they were close. I mean,
yeah,
that was because they were, did they lose in the Sweet 16 or was it the eight? They played that really tough game, and man, that was a good game.
yeah, they made it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I remember watching that. That was fun to watch. But look, I mean, Curry's still doing it. I think he put up like 45 tonight,
Yeah,
something like that, dude. He comes out of halftime and scores like 20 points in the third quarter. Hits like five threes, and you're just like, geez. Have you seen the father son stat of most 3 pointers hit?
uh, no, but it's Curry. I mean, Dell
Right,
and
right. Yeah, so Dell and Steph, but then Seth and Dell are on there too.
that's funny.
Yeah, so there's something like I don't remember the number, but it was 1,600 or something like that, or 3,000 between the three of them. Like it was just a crazy number of NBA 3 pointers hit by the family. But Seth and Dell are five, and uh, Steph and Dell are one. So that was interesting.
Then you think of like, Michael Thompson's not shooting any threes, so Clay
Right.
and Michael aren't up there. And
Well, and you know Bronny's not going to hit a lot of threes in his career, so
well, I did see something. It was like total points combined. It was Bronny and LeBron were one
right.
because of LeBron. But yeah, because
Bronny has like nine. I actually, I think his other son is better. I've seen a
right.
lot of him lately, and I think he'll be a solid player.
Yeah, Bryce, isn't it?
Yeah. So they may have a chance to be more than what Bronny's, because I'm not. I don't think Bronny will last in the league long.
Once LeBron retires, Bronny's done. And they're all
Yeah.
right. We don't need anymore.
Well, they don't have to take him anymore. That's the
Yeah.
point. Like you pretty much have to have him right now. You have no choice. All right, well let's switch gears here. Let's jump over to talk a little bit about Gene Hackman unfortunately passed away. So we're gonna give a little tribute by giving our top five. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation right now around the death, and I don't that's one thing that bothers me, and not just about the Hackman thing in general, right? But like I don't feel like we ever really get to know what's really happening, you know?
Yeah.
I felt like
Um,
that with Matthew Perry.
right.
And then all of a sudden later all this stuff comes out, you know? It's like,
Yeah. And then they're all, but I get it. It's like you want to first talk to the family. You don't want it to go out like the day of, and you want the family and everyone to know first before you like spread it to everybody.
this the whole being in the dark, and it's not just with, celebrity deaths, but in general, like as the general public, we're always in the dark. So I do hope that like it clears it up, right? So they come out and they give a little bit of
Right.
information and clarity around, what happened. But like we said before, he's 95. And so you did well for yourself. You make it to 95. I hope I make it to 95.
Right. Yeah. He retired in 2004. So he got a good 21 years of retirement.
Right. And his wife's 30 years younger. So he's,
Yeah. I mean, it was, and then how many actors do you actually know that like will stay retired like that? So that
yeah,
was I gotta hand it to him. He wrote some books. I'm actually gonna try and find now, but yeah.
Yeah, and even, I think it was Coppola came out and, put out I think on social media or something. I don't know what platform it was, but, he talked about how great he was and, paid his respects that way. And that's good to see, from in general, where he was very well respected actor, did a great job. And so revisiting his movies was interesting. We both talked about this today where, you said that we saw it happen. I was like, oh, maybe, I'll go try to find a movie I haven't seen. But then just looking through his list of movies, and the ones I haven't seen, now I'm like, man, I want to watch that. I want to watch that. I want to watch that.
Well, and here I got a bone to pick with streaming, and we're like, dude, what we have this technology. There shouldn't be a movie that you can't find someplace to stream.
Right.
It's like I'm looking and I'm like, oh, I'll try that Gene Hackman movie. Nope. Can't find that one. Oh, how about this one? Nope. It's like, come on, dude.
But when you're talking about Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, all of these, they are very limited in, or Max, they're all very limited in what you can watch. They are very, maybe they're putting the content they want on there. Like, I'm not sure how they're making that decision, but yeah, you get it. I do a search. I have my smart TV. It'll find almost every movie for me, but most of them are like, hey, you have to pay for this or rent this
Right.
from this service. I can't just watch it with my subscription.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, I guess it's not that. French Connection's only $5 to buy, so that's cool. But
Right, but they want you to pay for them, right? So that's the thing is
yeah,
you're kind of
well,
rent or
and that's the
buy.
one that when we got Disney Plus, I was like, sweet, I can see all the older movies that I remember as a kid. I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, why don't you just put your whole library on there?
Yeah.
It's like now they do, but I'm like, I want to watch the Apple Dumpling Gang. What? It's not on here? Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Man, that's like, hey, I want to watch Condor Man. It's not that great of a movie, but I loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
Put it on Disney Plus.
It's funny because when you mentioned that, I just had a similar experience with remember Masters of the Universe?
Yeah.
Because I mean He-Man, it was a great cartoon. We loved it, and then the movie, like a lot of people didn't like it, but I loved it. Like I thought it was great. But then you look at it like terrible reviews and people are like, oh, it's not good. And you're like, I think that's kind of drives their maybe drives a little bit of what content they're putting out.
Right. I get some things haven't aged well, so you're not going to put some of that stuff out there.
Right.
I was like, I don't know, Condor Man, there's nothing bad in that. Master of the Universe, I'll say I wasn't that big of a fan of that because I wanted it to be more like they were in Eternia and stuff.
Right, right.
But
No, they had that like, portal and coming into Earth and I still loved it. It's great.
Courtney Cox, pre friends.
Right. Old school right there. She's older than you'd think too.
Well, yeah, she was Michael J. Fox's girlfriend for a little bit on Family Ties.
Right.
And then, yeah, the Bruce Springsteen commercial or Bruce Springsteen music video.
Yeah, it's like, but when she got popular in Friends, I guess you just don't realize how old she was at that point
Yeah.
already, like how long she'd been around. And don't forget, of the classics, Scream.
Yeah, there's going to be another Scream.
All right, well, let's jump into Gene Hackman movies here. It was fun and kind of eye-opening to review the list. because there's ones that stick out in your head that you watched and you've seen, you loved. But just to go back through his list and some of the movies I hadn't seen, some of the ones I had, and revisiting those, I think that was a great thing for Gene Hackman because he was around for so long. Especially some of the real old ones. You're like, wow,
Right.
So here we go. We'll go HSC Podcast top 5 Gene Hackman movies. Get my list going here. All right, what do you got at 5?
Well, let me preface this with some of the movies from his earlier years I haven't seen in I don't know how long, so I can't remember them as well. So my list is more recent than his. So like French Connection's not on my list, even though I know it's a great movie, I just can't remember it too well, and I wanted to watch it today and I couldn't find it. So my number 5 is Enemy of the State.
Oh yeah, he's real good in that one too.
Yeah, I that was yeah, Will Smith and him in that, and he was great in that as Brill. It was a Tony Scott movie. I love Tony Scott movies. It was a great movie. But because he's such a great actor.
Yeah, he played that part really well. I think Will Smith did a good job in that movie too, so that helped. And I think that's a good part for him too, for Gene
Hmm.
Hackman. That once was part of the spy community or
Right.
whatever. So he just knows everything that's happening, and that makes that more fun. Um, and it's a real good movie too. What good screenplay. So I like that movie a lot. My number 5 is Superman. I mean, Lex Luthor, and he just does such a good job playing that villain. But he's bad, but he's lighthearted in the sense of how he plays the character. Obviously, Lex Luthor's an evil genius, but Hackman does a really good job of keeping it light in the sense of it almost is comedic, but not. And then of course, the story Superman's great anyway, but yeah, he does a really good job there. And I remember watching that as a kid. I've seen it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Superman, but there were some points where you like kind of want Lex Luthor to win.
He was ruthless though.
Yeah. But it always seemed like he was doing it with a smile though, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so Superman has to be in there for me just because I've seen it so many times and I think he did a great job. So I'll throw Superman in there. Number 4 for me is partly because of who he's in the movie with, and so I got Crimson Tide here. First of all, I love submarine, anything submarine, anything war, that type of war. That's my stuff. That's what I love. But particularly like submarine movies. And then on top of that, you got Denzel and Hackman in
Yeah.
it, like just going at it. And they're both so good that you feel like you're in there with them. You're fighting this battle, the nuclear subs with them. So um, it helps a lot to have Denzel there. Makes the movie even that much better. But I think he plays the perfect oppositional in that, to Denzel. And I don't think a lot of people could have played that part as well as Hackman did there. So Crimson Tide, again, a movie I've seen a lot. And that's one of those where you just say, hey, what's a great Gene Hackman movie? And it's right on top of the head. So
Well, no surprise here though, but my 4 is Superman because yeah, he still is Lex Luthor to me. He is the best Lex Luthor there's been.
right.
And it's just because, yes, he's charming and he's just like, oh, I'm so smart. And like he has no empathy at all either. It's just so great.
Yeah, and it's just a good movie in general, you know. I mean, I know a lot of people watch Superman today and they're like, "Oh, it's kind of lame," you know. But when it came out and for a long time, it was great,
It's still the best Superman.
right?
And then it gave you the best, his father gave him the best advice. Land. What is the most priceless thing? It's land, right?
Right.
Owning land, beachfront property. Boom.
Well, it's what's every war about, you know, what's the history of people, you know, it's always about land. Even today, it's about land. But yeah, I could see you gotta put Superman in there as well.
This one is more of a cheesy, fun one for me, but I love it, and he is so ruthless in it, and it has so many good actors in it. And it's Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead.
Oh yeah. That's
He's
right there for me. That's right there. It's didn't make my top five, but go ahead, like give us the
he's
breakdown.
so ruthless in that. I mean, well, young DiCaprio in it, and he goes up against him. Russell Crowe. He made Russell Crowe look amazing. Sharon Stone. Uh, he just elevates all the actors he's in a movie with. And it was, it's a B. It's played like a B movie, but it was such a good movie to me, like a spaghetti western. But
Right.
yeah, he's, he's so good in that.
Yeah, it's actually the idea behind the movie is really good. You know, and I like the script, I like the screenplay, I like the actors in it. You know, it is a movie that I've seen several times and I'm never disappointed in watching it.
Right.
And I think he did a real good job in that. And this might play alongside of that, my number three, but I got him in Unforgiven because I mean, just you could say Unforgiven for anybody because it's such a good movie. But playing Little Bill, I don't know that I you could cast a better person than Gene Hackman to play Little Bill in Unforgiven.
Yeah. Because like you said, though, he teetered. He was the villain, but you're like, well, he has some points.
Right, right. Like, is he really the villain?
Right. It's like he's trying to keep his town.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, well, who's really the bad guy here? So, but it also, you know, he's a big part of that movie, and I don't think that movie is the same.
No.
Not just without Little Bill, but without Gene Hackman playing
Right.
Little Bill.
He carried most of that movie, I think. And then it
Right.
was the Clint Eastwood, like the end was Clint Eastwood. But the most of the movie, the storyline, it was mostly like Little Bill. Gene Hackman, carried the acting.
Yeah. And that part, and I don't know, you know, because I obviously we don't know the guy, but maybe that just fits so well in his personality that it's easy for him to play that type of part because it was very natural. It's you don't feel like he's acting. So that's my number three. So my number two is Mississippi Burning, and I've seen that. The reason I've seen that is because that was one of the movies that we had on VHS recorded off of HBO or whatever back in the day, and uh, and I never really got it because I was so young. You know, I was still kind of growing up was watching it, but then the more times you watch it, the more you understand it, and it's just brutal. But again, this is where you every time he's casting a part, especially this part, he fits that part so well. You can't imagine another person playing his role. But it's so controversial, and it was and back then, and even now. I mean, can you imagine now if you re put that out today? And that's why a lot of people don't give it, I think, the respect that it deserves because it's controversial. but it's a movie. Like that's the point.
Yeah.
And the point of this particular movie was to be controversial. And they did a great job with the screenplay. They did a great job with the acting, and it has always been one of my favorite movies by him.
Well, that is my number two is Mississippi Burning. And I just like to think about this. We were 10 years old when that came out.
Like,
And
why are we watching this?
exactly. I'm looking now, it's like, should my 8-year-old watch The Last Starfighter? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, then I'm reading, I'm like, well, it would have been PG-13 rated R nowadays. And I'm like, well, but I watched it when I was his age.
Yeah, I wouldn't let Brooklyn watch Mississippi Burning.
No, no, that's like a totally different. Yeah, a difference between like sci-fi violence and stuff and like deep, like
Like
this
social
social,
violence.
this is a very deep movie. And yeah, it would be like, what? Yeah, yeah,
But
he
for me,
did a
like
great job keeping it.
again, maybe that's a different time. But the older I got, I was still a teenager, watching it. And
Yeah,
but as I had my later teens, and then I'd read like hadn't seen it in a few years, and I saw it again. I understood it a little better. I understood a little bit
right.
more, and it made a little more, not more sense, but yeah, I guess I just grasped it a little bit better. All right, well, here we go. Number one. What
Well,
you got?
it's Unforgiven, man. Unforgiven. He, like I said, he carried a lot of the movie early and like his whole like him with Sal Rubinek and them talking and him discussing and everything. And then he had lots of the dialogue for most of the movie. He kind of carried it with his acting. The story was so great. And Clint Eastwood's character didn't really have to talk or do much. It was mostly about Gene Hackman's character building him up to be such this huge villain. And then what he did and like the whole, didn't you hear? Didn't you hear what happened? Curly Bill told me to sit, and we're like, whoa, what happened? And then, yeah,
All right. Well, and it helps. Yeah, like I said before, the movie itself is just so good. But yeah, 100%. You really you don't have the same movie without him
right.
in that role. So my number one actually, it's this movie I saw for the first time today, and I put it number one because I had never seen it. I read about it a little bit before I watched it, and it is considered one of his greatest movies. He actually won an Oscar. So he definitely it was celebrated for him, and I don't know why I'd never seen it before, but it's The French Connection. We talked about this earlier, but there's an epic car chase in it. But he plays, kind of this hard nosed detective police guy, and he's, looking chasing down a drug ring basically. But he's so believable when you watch him play the role. Like you really think like, was this guy like a New York detective? Because he just nails it. Like
Popeye
if you
Doyle.
what you ever thought a New York detective was, like he played that.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you picture it in your head or you were writing your own little screenplay or story about it, like he nailed it. And like I said, it's a little bit, you know, older, so it's not like the typical detective stories and things that we see today, a little more action, the different types of action, I guess.
I was
Um,
54 years old. Yeah. So,
right. So I mean, it's not the same type of action, but the action that is in it, it is well done, well acted, well written, and it's worth seeing. So I mean, obviously you're probably going to try to watch it now because you haven't seen it, but anybody listening, like, yeah, it's worth the watch, and I'm glad that I picked it up.
yeah. And on Prime right now, it's $5 to buy. So,
And that's not bad.
no. And that's the thing is, yeah, I saw it, but that was back in the when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I saw it for yeah. It's like another one. It's like really when and I knew Popeye Doyle that name because there was French Connection too, and then I think Ed O'Neill did a movie where he played Popeye Doyle.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I saw French Connection too. Obviously, rarely does two get the kind of accolades that one gets. But I haven't seen French Connection 2 either, so
Yeah. Oh, it was just Ed O'Neill did a, TV pilot for Popeye. They were doing a French Connection TV show. How did I? Huh, weird. Because I knew something about that a long time ago, but I guess it never got on the air. But yeah, huh? Unless
I mean
they,
you gotta love Ed O'Neill though too.
yeah, yeah. It was a 1986 TV show. It was going to be called Popeye Doyle.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a series that never picked up. I must have saw the back then. Saw the thing. Huh.
So I mean when you look through this list, obviously we're trying to narrow it down to our top five, but there's just so many that when you go through it's like like you said today, you watched Runaway Jury, which
Well,
is a
the
good
John
one.
Grisham, he has three John Grisham movies. He has The Firm, Runaway Jury, and The Chamber, right? So,
Right.
and
The
he's
Firm,
plays,
yeah. Again, great movie, but he does a great job in that. Get Shorty,
yes, Get Shorty.
Wyatt Earp. Uh, one of my favorite sports movies. I know a lot of people don't love this movie, but The Replacements, when he plays the coach, it's like
Well, I think a lot of people are going to be mad because one of their favorite sports movies, he's in Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. Yeah. So Hoosiers is very hard not for me not to put on the list. I mean, it's obviously right there. Um,
Uh,
Comparatively, the other five, it was hard to put it up there.
right, well, and then some of more of his supporting roles that, like, the blind man in Young Frankenstein. Oh, boy. And then, and in Bonnie and Clyde, he had some great scenes in that, or scenes
Right.
together.
But look who you're acting with there, right? I mean,
Right.
geez.
Well,
Let's see.
that's what was great about Gene Hackman. He could be this hard ass, horrible, bad guy. He could be the tough detective. He can be the comedian. He could be funny. He
Yeah,
could do everything and do it well.
right. His range is pretty impressive. I mean, like Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah. Yeah. He can do sly, dark humor and he can do over the top humor. And it's, yeah. Um, what was the one with him? Oh, what was that one called? Loose Cannon. Remember that one?
No.
Loose Cannon with him and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh,
Loose
interesting.
Cannons. It's he's a cop. Hackman's a cop, and he's paired with a amazing detective that like is kind of weird and crazy, and that's Hackman, or is Aykroyd. And so think about that. Think about Aykroyd in 1990 with Gene Hackman.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and then I don't know if you ever seen The Heist? It's not The Heist,
no,
just called Heist.
yeah,
Danny DeVito with him. Like even movies like that, it's like it's not the greatest movie in the world, but it's still fun to watch and interesting to see him, play the leader of the heist and running the crew.
yeah.
It's actually just it's amazing. I get it. He's been in TV forever or movies forever, but just his career in general, he had an amazing career.
Yeah.
I mean, for most people, like one of the most boring movies they'll probably ever watch is A Bridge Too Far, which,
Oh God, that's one of my favorite war movies.
but yeah, me too. I like love it. Not only just that, it's just like you got
A
Redford and
million people in
Hopkins
it.
and Connery and Khan and Kane and like just all these people in there. And then you're like, here's Gene Hackman.
Yeah. And that's well, just when I tried to get Caitlin to watch that movie. They're like, this movie's amazing, let's watch it. And then she's like, uh-huh.
She's like, this is boring.
Yep, pretty much.
Because you have to be you had to be a little bit into it first of all, right? You gotta like war movies, you gotta like World War II, understand like what the movie's about. Like that's a tough one. I've tried to get people to watch that, and it's always the same. Like this is long and boring.
Steve, I'll come over. I think I have it on DVD. We can watch
Yeah, I mean, I love it, man. I've seen it too many times.
it. Yeah.
But overall, I mean, yeah, it was great to just go back and look at his career and celebrate it. And it's always sad to see, but he's 95, so that's
All
part of
right.
life.
I
And
hope it's not too whatever comes out. I hope it's not like really bad. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because you're hearing rumors and stuff. I haven't.
it seems like everything's a controversy these days, and that's what gets me. It'd be just nice if it's like, hey, Gene died at 95 in his bed, and
Right.
natural causes, no suspicious things, and no storylines that you're going to be reading about forever on these wacky news outlets.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was great. It was really good to revisit that. So, all right, well, I guess we'll just kind of wrap up here with what's next in sports. So we have NFL draft, NFL combine, NFL draft. Um, Draft, we talked a little about this, but as far as the strength of the draft right now for the NFL draft, like where do you think that sits in the last like I don't know, a few drafts? I feel like the last few drafts have been pretty good. Like the last few years, we've had some strong drafts.
Yeah. Well, this draft is strong in running backs, defensive linemen. I think is those two are that's really strong. That's why being a Raider fan, I love Ashton Genty, but I'm like, do I take him six or do I get Hampton in the second round or Judkins or Henderson in the third round? Right?
Or
It's
Caleb Johnson.
yeah.
Like there are a lot of there's a lot of good talent in running back,
Trevor Etienne in the fifth round or something like that, right?
right?
It's so many good talent. That was what I think Adam Schefter said that after you get by the top 10, then like 11 to 32 are all like the same. So that's
You're
kind
gonna
of
get equal level of talent no matter where you're picking.
yeah.
Yeah, like, I think it may be a really balanced draft, but I don't think there's as many people that they'll be big stars or I mean they're always going to be watched. Like of course Sanders and Ward, they're everybody's going to have their eye on them. Um, but yeah, I think there's a good level of talent in here. So it'll be more interesting to me as a football
Yeah.
fan to see like where people go, right? How teams are filling their spots with the talent that's available. Will they make that right choice? Will they get the one that fits into their team better?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. What's going on here? Okay.
So that just makes me wonder, and that's the kind of the part of the draft that's more exciting almost than who's going to go in the top five. It reminds me of Gibbs going to Detroit, right? That's what I think is going to happen in this draft. I think there's teams that are going to have a chance to find that person who's going to fit so well into their team, and it doesn't have to be in the top 10. It could be at 15. It could be at 25. It
Right.
could be in the second round. for some of these guys.
Yeah, sadly, like teams like the Chiefs are still going to get a really good player at the end of the draft.
Well, it's only fair. They did lose the Super Bowl, so
Yeah, let's see if they trade with the Bills again, so Bills can give them an even better player again for
right.
the third time.
Well, I mean, Xavier Worthy, he came out and played a lot better than I thought he would. I thought he would be a deep threat. Obviously he's got Mahomes throwing the ball and he's fast, but he did some other things like running the ball. They did a lot of end arounds and reverses to him that he's another weapon there on the ground.
Yeah, and it was interesting. He never really got a full DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Kelsey like lineup going
Right.
where they were all healthy,
You didn't
which
get
is
the real
good.
experience.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but again, Hopkins is still a good receiver, but he's obviously not what he was. Brown, injuries and I never really thought he was great. He's fast, and then Kelsey, like you just never know what you're getting with him now.
Yeah. He's just
Like,
saving himself for the playoffs.
right. Is he really gonna play? Like which Kelsey showing up today?
Yeah. Well, he said he's coming back though. He
Yeah.
came, you know.
I'm sure there's a level of disappointment for him.
Oh yeah. Well, he wanted to probably propose.
He missed out on his proposal.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
He had
next
his,
year.
remember, he saw his hair was perfect.
Oh God. Yeah, the whole hair thing and like I don't know, that was real wild to me. Because I don't know if you saw some of the clips, like when they started talking about the Patriots Falcons game on the Chiefs sideline.
Yeah, they're
So
like,
the Chiefs, they're like,
we
yeah, Patriots did it, we could do it. We're only down 24. And like it was 28-3, or and they're like talking about that on the sideline. You're like, really? I guess it's a way to keep yourself motivated, but man, you
right.
guys aren't. You don't
I
have
mean,
that
that
chance,
first half, they were totally dominated.
right?
And that's the thing, is the final score doesn't indicate how the game should have been.
No, no, that's just some scrub points at the end, and just Mahomes, trying to get his 2 touchdown passes before the game's over.
Right.
All in all, good game though, and kind of sets up a new playing field for next year, right? Because if Kansas City wins that, they really fall into that Patriots level of domination
Right.
where it's just like it's the Chiefs.
Well, and that's where I think you're going to start seeing a lot of teams looking to invest in defensive lines because that's how you beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you beat up, so the Chiefs have to get their offensive line together.
Well, and they're going to have trouble with that too because they're already probably losing their left guard, right?
No, they franchised him.
Oh, they did. They tagged him. Oh, I did see that. He was the first person tagged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. So they'll be all right there. But they got to figure out something with the dude that always jumps off sides every time or false starts every time.
Yeah, pretty much well, because Tooney needs to go back inside. I feel bad for him because he shouldn't have been playing tackle.
Right.
Then yeah, Taylor, dude. So basically they need two tackles.
I swear to God, he false starts every single play.
Yeah, but they don't call it.
I know. Uh yeah, so I was looking at some of this like free agent stuff, or not even just free agent, but um I saw the Green Bay cornerback, Hire Alexander. You know, I think he's a great pickup, and I just don't understand. I mean, maybe he got too big for himself or thought he's better than he is, but I thought he was good, and I feel like he kind of fell off. But I still think that's a good for someone to go after that really wants to solidify their secondary.
Right. It's so hard though with corners, especially. It's like it's once they fall off, they fall off.
Yeah, you may not get him back.
And then it's because what else is he the top? Oh, they got Carlton Davis is out there, Chavarius Ward, DJ Reed, Byron Murphy, Sante Samuel Jr.
I don't understand why they think Tevin Jenkins from the Bears is like going to be is a great free agent.
I know they got him at 31.
I know, man. I'm like, what?
I don't even see. So Paulson, oh man, where is Jair Alexander? Jeez.
Well, he's not rated super high as far as available free agents, but earlier today I was reading, just over different free agents, and they were talking about like maybe he just needs a fresh start.
Yeah.
But he's had injury problems in the last couple of years, but he goes to a new place, right? And if he gets back to where he was 3, 4 years ago, I mean, he was a good corner.
Yeah, that's crazy. They didn't have him in the top 20 or top 100. That's
Well,
kind
that's a
of
little
crazy.
excessive.
He's only 28. Well, is he a free agent though? Yeah, it says trade
Oh, they're
rumors.
releasing him.
Oh, they are?
Well, they haven't announced it yet, but because he doesn't get along with the coaching staff at this point, it sounds like they're just mutually parting ways.
Right. Or they're going to try and trade him.
Right. See if they can get like a sixth round or something.
Yeah, that's probably why he's not in the top 100 because he's not really technically a free agent. But yeah, he's had issues for the last few years with management.
And then it's like I was looking at Tampa as well because I don't know, I was looking at secondaries. Like they're losing Carlton Davis last year, right? And
Yeah.
then now they're gonna lose Jamel Dean.
Is Dean a free agent?
It doesn't say if he's a free agent or not. Oh, they're talking about a trade.
Oh, yeah, at risk
Yeah.
released. Yeah, because he signed a new contract, I thought, last year.
Yeah, I was just looking at this list of guys, that could be parting ways from their teams, whether it be free agency trades or whatever, and some of the big ones for each team. But that would be brutal for Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah. I mean, didn't they pick up some guys though?
Well, they already had to because Davis was gone,
Yeah.
so they had to replace him, right? I mean,
And
they don't
that's
have great corners. Josh Hayes, Troy Hill, Dallas Flowers.
maybe they're going to draft one in the draft. I mean, that's what the look what the Eagles did.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of people talk about how good the Eagles did in their draft, right? But a lot of that is just things falling into place, right time, right position.
Right.
There's a little bit of luck involved in getting that many good
Well,
draft
yeah.
picks.
I mean, Jalen Carter's attitude issue or character issues is like it drops to the Eagles.
Right. And maybe that's part of that you were talking about earlier, where it's like the Eagles are out there spreading it. They're like,
Yeah,
man, this guy, he's got real problems. And everybody's like, oh, we're not going to draft him. Like, yeah, we'll take him.
right. And then they're like, the Cooper DeJean, don't you know he's white?
Yeah, exactly.
They're
You're
like,
like,
oh, we're
well,
not going to draft a white corner.
you can't take a, there's no white corners. No, you don't want to do that. So that's a little bit of that. what you're talking about, the lies happening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's this is the time of year where everybody's lying about everything, and so you don't know what's going to happen. And that's the thing. It's like you don't know what's going to happen in the draft. The draft is still like 2 months away. It's ridiculous.
Right. But you're gonna have, you know, trades, cuts,
Yeah.
free agency, like you've got all these things happening here.
Right. Yeah, it's good to have free agency before the draft. So then you're like, then you can be like, okay, well, we needed this, we got this, so now we concentrate on this.
Yeah. And there's always winners and losers in free agency. Like it's a big one. But still an exciting part of the year for the NFL. So I know we don't get games to watch, but with the combine, with the free agency cuts, drafts, still a fun part to keep up on and see what happens and a lot of moves being made. But yeah, that's it. Anything else?
No, I mean, yeah, coming up on conference tournaments and then March Madness, and then we can get into free agency and NFL draft. That's pretty much for me, not you, but Major League Baseball starting back up again. So
Yeah, I just don't watch baseball till the playoffs. I don't mind. I mean, I like playoff baseball. I do enjoy playoff baseball, but it's hard for me to get into it for 150 games.
I do enjoy though, because baseball is one of the only ones that has day games during the week. And then
Yeah,
you can just, oh, we'll see what's going on with the Pirates and the Marlins or something. Yeah, it's like,
it's interesting. It's much more. It's easier to watch with the pitch clock because there was a point where I think they were trying to take extra time on the mound.
it's like, let's try to get this to 4 hours.
Yeah, they're like purposely up there, doing it. But no, so it has become easier to watch. But again, it's just it's 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 like the NBA for I still watch the NBA. I still enjoy the NBA. I follow the NBA. Where a lot of people have kind of fallen off from the NBA.
I don't really follow to the playoffs. See, I'm the opposite. So the NBA, I'm like, oh, once the playoffs start, I'll start paying attention. But
Right, right, right. And it's the same way though. It gets exciting though in the playoffs too. It's fun to watch
Mhm.
playoff basketball.
Yeah, I just remember my blood pressure levels, whoo, in the Knicks. Whoo.
Oh yeah. Well, it's going to be there again because the Knicks have a pretty good team this year. So I mean, they'll obviously be a top seed or near, in the top couple. So you'll have that same thing again. And man, the Knicks are just running so lean that it's hard to
Yeah,
once you've played 80 games already and then go into playoffs and then go into these long series. You quite have to question like, will they have enough?
that's the whole thing with Thibodeau, and that
Yeah,
he's never learned about. He just keeps doing it, and
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have enough gas in the tank to
right,
finish. Because you play, I mean, like Cleveland and Boston, and they're coming off the bench with guys hitting threes and scoring points. And how do you keep up with that when you're running the same five guys, over and over again?
right. Well, Mitchell Robinson will be back here pretty soon, so they'll at least have some more depth.
Right. Yeah, and McBride's playing better, and like Payne,
Yeah.
he's playing a little bit, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Episode one, season seven, underway. Can't wait to get into March Madness and finish out the off season of football. So thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and yeah, we'll see you next time.